Good old San Siro.
All right, switching gears a little bit back to the Premier League. There's a bunch of coaches on the hot seat right now. I'd like to kind of dive into who we think is going to be the next one on the chopping block. Quite a few teams here and quite a few coaches. Where do you want to start, Tyler? You want to start bottom of the table or top of the table?
Let's start at the bottom of the table.
All right. Nathan Jones of Southampton, he was appointed in November. He's only been there a couple of months, but, I mean, he's only won 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sitting in last place. Like you said, he's only been there a couple months. He's only had 6 games to manage. And he's won 2 and lost 4. So
not looking good for him.
They're not in a good position right now. And Southampton may be looking to move on to a more experienced coach to help in this relegation fight.
Yeah, maybe a relegation aficionado and Sam Allardyce.
I knew you were going to say Sam Allardyce.
I mean, he's been out of the Premier League too long. I mean, get him back. Bring him back.
Need Big Sam, huh?
Yeah. I love me some Big Sam. All right. Next up, probably the most high profile or close to in the bottom of the table, David Moyes of West Ham. Man, fall from grace. Last year they finished 7th last year, and the year before they finished 6th above Arsenal. They're in 17th right now and can't buy a win. What's going on?
No, that's a tough one because, David Moyes has been there for a few years. Like you said, he was appointed in 2017. In that first season, he had them finish in 13th and then 10th, then 16th kind of back down, but then they finished in 6th, 7th. I think he's still the right man for the job. I know he's in the hot seat, and if results don't start going his way, he really will be probably out of a job here soon. I'd almost say give him till the end of this month, see what he can do, if he can get some wins. Because their schedule coming up, who is it? They play Leeds coming up. So that's a winnable game for West Ham. If it is Leeds, let me look real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the next game's against Wolves. It might decide.
Wolves.
It might decide Wolves. If he's going to be on for much longer.
I mean, that's a winnable game. So they need to start winning those games that they should be winning, which is Wolves. So
yeah, I mean, their next 2 games are against relegation teams. They got Wolves this weekend and Everton next weekend.
So yeah, if he doesn't come away with 6 points from those, then yeah, I would say his head's on the chopping block.
Yeah, I mean, he needs at least 1 win between those 2 games. A draw might not do him any favors, but if he wins one of those games, it'll at least buy him some time to the end of February. And they got a tough schedule to play Newcastle, Chelsea, Tottenham, and then Nottingham Forest in February. So if they don't get points now, I don't see it getting any better for them.
No.
All right. Next up, we got probably the most high-profile coach in the drop zone. We got Brendan Rodgers for Leicester City. I mean, Brendan Rodgers...
They're not quite in the drop zone yet. They're sitting in 13th.
I mean, they're right
points,
there.
But they're fighting, yeah.
They're right
fighting.
there. I mean, he's been there what seems like ages. I mean, he finished 5th with them 2 years in a row. Finished 8th last year. What is going on? That team's got so many options going forward.
Yeah, but I think they're kind of aging options in Jamie Vardy.
Yeah. I mean, they still got players like, Patson Daka. They got James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans. I mean, these are world-class players.
Yeah, Madison's been hurt here the past while, so he hasn't played. So I think that's definitely hurting their results. Like you say, Tielemans, I don't think he wants to stay at Leicester, so he's probably looking for a move out, but he needs to start playing like how he used to keep this team going in the Premier League. I don't think he's quite on the hot seat yet. Again, I think maybe after another couple months, if the results aren't going their way, then they do look to replace Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see Brendan Rodgers getting fired from them. I mean, their form has been abysmal. Their defense has been even worse. But I don't see Brendan Rodgers getting fired anytime soon. I mean, they play Nottingham Forest after Newcastle this weekend. And they got a tough February, so they play Villa, Tottenham, Manchester United, and Arsenal in February. I think if they don't get at least 6 points between now and the end of February, he's looking at the chopping block.
Yep.
All right. Frank Lampard. I mean, he was appointed not very long ago.
No, hasn't even been there quite a year yet.
Yeah. They are not playing well.
Nope.
Their football doesn't look very good. They have so many good players in their team. I mean, they're coming off spending over the last 3 years, what is it, like $200 million, maybe more?
They've spent quite a bit of money. They've had a lot of flops too, man. That Moise Keane signing didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
They spent quite a bit of money on Iwobi. Definitely think they overpaid for him.
Yeah,
but at least Iwobi's been producing a little bit.
The only one that's going to pan out, I would say. I mean, he's looking like their best player this season. Calvert-Lewin, he can't put the ball in the net right now. But, I mean, their defense, I honestly, off the top of my head, I probably couldn't tell you anyone that plays in their defense right now. Maybe
Yerry Mina.
Yerry Mina, old.
Oh, who's that defender? He played for Burnley. Can't remember that defender's name. And then they have that other defender they got from Manchester United, Keane.
Yeah, Michael Keane.
Keane.
And Mason Holgate. James.
No, it's Tarkin,
Tarkovsky.
I think.
Seamus Coleman, Ben Godfrey.
Tarkovsky, that's who it is.
Yeah.
They have Tarkovsky they got him from Burnley.
Yeah. But I mean, they got players like Idrissa Gueye.
Hasn't been playing well.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Damari Gray, Alex Iwobi, Neil Maupay.
I would say Damari Gray has been their one bright spark this season.
Yeah. I would say so too. But
in these past couple games.
I mean, they've already lost 9 games, drawn 6, and won 3 in the Premier League. I think if they lose this weekend to Southampton, I think he's gone.
I was going to say, I think Frank Lampard is the manager most on the hot plate right now.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting in 18th place. You know, when he took over last year, he did get them up to 16th place. But that's just not what you expect from Everton Football Club. And I think they would be the ones to most likely bring in a Sam Allardyce to come right that ship.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think at this point, they're not worried about playing beautiful football. They're worried about staying in the Premier League.
100%. Yeah, I know you picked them to go down. Am I correct on that one?
Yeah.
I think they have enough to stay up. Is Frank Lampard the coach to do so? Probably not, honestly.
No, I don't think he is.
They're talking Wayne Rooney being their next coach.
Don't think he'd be any
Rooney
better.
Did great things at Derby. I think it's possible.
I don't think he would be a good fit.
We'll see.
He's in the MLS right now at DC United.
Yeah, DC United. Next up, we got the guy who seems to just go wherever he wants on his own dime. Antonio Conte for Spurs. I mean, they're not doing bad. They're in 5th place. However, I mean, they've already lost 5 games this season. That's a lot for this point.
Yeah, I think, honestly, he might be the manager second most on the chopping block. I know Spurs fans aren't too happy with him. And if there's any Spurs fans listening, please let us know. What are your thoughts on Antonio Conte? How do you feel having him as your manager? I think, the slow starts to games aren't very very productive for that team. They take a long time to get going. And yes, they're in 5th place, but I know a lot of fans are upset by the style of football they're playing. And sometimes that matters for bigger clubs. You want to enjoy watching your team, not just having them sit back and play defense against some of these other teams. You want to go out there and kind of step toe to toe with, the Man Cities and Liverpools of these leagues.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Antonio Conte is a great coach. It was the caliber of coach that Spurs kind of needed at the time. However, his style of football, it doesn't match with the club and the way that they want to go. I don't think Antonio Conte gets fired. I think he will sooner leave on his own accord than get fired at that club. If he doesn't feel wanted or doesn't feel the project's going the way he wants, he'll just leave. We saw it at Inter. He's more than happy to just leave, even no matter how many trophies he's won.
Yeah, he's only been there, just a little over a year now. And he took them to a 4th place finish last year, so they were playing Champions League football.
Yeah. I mean, time will tell with Antonio Conte. He's got a lot more breathing space than all these other coaches.
I agree. Yeah, he does have some breathing space, but I just think it's the fans that are upset with him more than anything.
Yeah. But
I could be wrong. So, like I said, if there's any Spurs fans listening, let me know.
Yeah, let us know. And I promise.
How do you feel about Antonio Conte?
Yeah, I promise we will listen. Bottom of my heart, rooting for you guys on Thursday. Anyways, next up, probably the most controversial hire of the season, now on the hot plate, chopping block, whatever you want to call it, Graham Potter for Chelsea. I mean, they're just as close to the drop zone as they are the Champions League. They're in 10th right now, sitting amongst teams like Aston Villa, Brentford. I mean, they got Fulham, Brighton, and Brentford all ahead of them right now. They looked abysmal in their last 2 games. Is it going to get better for them? I don't know if it can.
Yeah, but I don't think you let Graham Potter go. He hasn't had any time to bring in his players to kind of implement the system he wants to do. So I think you got to keep him around and kind of just ride out this storm. Maybe call this kind of season a wash and think of it as a rebuilding year.
At what point do you think he is seriously considered to be fired?
I think after a year. Got to give him at least a year at this job.
You're going to give him
I know that's usually not the Chelsea way. I mean, if they obviously keep dropping, like you say, they're in 10th place, so if they keep dropping back down, then maybe. But, I mean, who do you get that could possibly bring this Chelsea squad up anymore? I mean, they're hurting on injuries. Can't blame him on that one.
No.
I mean, he has players that he didn't bring in. You think of Aubameyang, who could probably be one of the worst signings of the season. It's not like he went out and got him.
For worse. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's stuck with another coach's players, and he's going to get the blame for them playing poorly. I know that's the life of a football manager, but you kind of feel for the guy.
100%. And honestly, it's really going to be more, do Chelsea stick with what they've been known for in recent seasons, which is when they start struggling, they just fire their coach? Or are they going to do more of, I hate to use Arsenal as an example, but Mikel Arteta went through this. They're going to stick by their coach and trust the process, let him get his players in, and potentially, do much better.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Arteta didn't have the best first couple seasons. I mean, yeah, he got an FA Cup, which was great, but you're looking at some like 8th and 6th place finishes. So I think that could be this season for Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, United went through it recently. Arsenal's gone through it recently. Spurs, I mean, that's usually where they hang out until recently. I think I think Todd Bowley will probably pull a fast one like he did with Thomas Tuchel. The fans are already turning on Graham Potter. I think if he doesn't pick up, They got Fulham, Palace, Liverpool, Fulham, West Ham before the Champions League starts. I think if they end the month of February still in 10th place or lower, I think he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I would argue that some Chelsea fans would give him still a chance and not be asking for his head. I'm sure there's some that are already asking for him to be gone. But again, I don't think it matters what kind of manager you bring in. I think he'd be in the same situation.
Yeah, I mean, only reason I say the fans are turning on him is because they did start to chant Thomas Tuchel's name against Man City on Sunday.
And I guess I kind of understand the banter of it, but I mean, also, I don't know why they would chant that. It's not like Graham Potter, like I said, brought in these players. He's got to field the players he thinks are best for the job. And, obviously, you're playing a great team like Manchester City in the FA Cup, so he gives some of his young players a chance to play and who are hungry for game time versus, maybe an Aubameyang who probably isn't, kind of in the twilight of his career. Yeah. I mean, as Arsenal fans, we saw it there, the kind of struggles of Aubameyang. So I think they're being a little harsh calling for him already. Like I say, give him a year, give him till the end of this year. Now, obviously, things start getting real bad for Chelsea, and, they start seeing themselves down in a 15th place kind of scenario, then maybe. But otherwise, I don't think they will go down that far. I think they'll kind of bounce back. They'll probably go on a little run here, win a few games once some of their players start coming back from injury, and hopefully, I'm guessing their goal right now is to get a Europa League finish.
Yeah, I mean, they still have a chance to finish in the Champions League places. Granted, they would, at this point, probably have to win the Champions League, but at least they still have that going for them. So, play Borussia Dortmund. They got some time to get some form going before the 15th of February.
Yeah,
time will tell with Graham Potter. I think he's got time to get some signings in. Certainly has the checkbook for it. See if they make a big enough difference. So those are the coaches on the chopping block. Let us know who you think is going to go first